Hey there, welcome. Have you ever wondered why you can write a shell script on your Mac, copy it to a Linux server, and it just works? Or why tools like grep, ls, and cat behave almost identically everywhere? That's not magic. That's POSIX. In this video, we're going to peel back the curtain and understand what POSIX actually is, where it came from, and why it quietly powers almost every serious operating system on the planet. Let's go.
To understand POSIX, we need to go back to the 1970s and 80s. AT&T had created Unix, this brilliant operating system. And very quickly, different companies, IBM, HP, Sun Microsystems, each took Unix and modified it their own way. AIX, HP-UX, Sun OS, they all existed. But here's the problem. A program written for one Unix system would break on another. Developers were stuck rewriting the same code over and over just to run it on different machines. It was chaos. The Unix wars were real. So imagine you're a developer in 1985. You write a fantastic application. It runs perfectly on IBM's AIX. But your client? They run HP-UX. You have to rewrite almost everything. Time wasted, money lost, frustration everywhere. This is the portability problem, and it wasn't just annoying, it was genuinely slowing down the entire software industry. Something had to change. Enter the IEEE, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. A group of industry experts sat down and said, enough is enough. Let's define a common standard. And in 1988, they published the first POSIX standard. POSIX stands for Portable Operating System Interface. The X at the end, that's a nod to Unix. The goal was simple but powerful. Define a common interface so that programs written to this standard could run on any compliant operating system without modification. So what exactly does POSIX standardize? Think of it as a rule book. It says, if you call yourself a POSIX compliant operating system, your OS must provide these specific system calls, these behaviors, these tools. It covers the file system, processes, threads, I/O, signals, shell commands, and more. It's not about how the OS does things internally, it's about the interface the OS exposes to programs. Like a power outlet standard. You don't care about the wiring inside the wall, as long as your plug fits. Let's talk about one of POSIX's most important concepts, the file system interface. In POSIX, almost everything is a file. Your hard drive? A file. A network socket? A file. A keyboard? A file. This everything is a file philosophy is genius because it means the same functions. Open, read, write, close, work on pretty much anything. A developer doesn't need to learn 20 different APIs for 20 different devices. One consistent interface handles them all. Now let's talk about file descriptors. This is where it gets really elegant. When you open a file in a POSIX system, the OS gives you back a small integer, a file descriptor. 0 is always standard input, the keyboard. 1 is standard output, the screen. 2 is standard error, and everything else you open gets numbers starting at 3. These little numbers are like ticket stubs. Hand it back to the OS and it knows exactly which file you're referring to. Simple, clean, brilliant. Next big POSIX concept, processes. A process is a running program. POSIX defines exactly how processes are created, how they communicate, and how they end. The most iconic way to create a new process in POSIX is a system call called fork. When a program calls fork, the OS makes an almost perfect copy of that running process. The parent process and the child process both continue running from the same point, but they're independent. The child usually then calls exec to become a completely different program. This fork exec pattern is how your shell launches every command you type. Here's something fascinating. How do processes talk to each other in POSIX? One major mechanism is signals. A signal is a tiny notification sent to a process. You view signals without even knowing it. When you press Ctrl-C to stop a program, you're sending a SIGINT signal. When a program crashes due to a bad memory access, that's a SIG SEGV signal. POSIX defines a whole dictionary of these signals: SIG term for polite termination, SIG HUP when a terminal disconnects, SIG kill for the nuclear option. Processes can catch and handle most signals however they like, or just let the default behavior happen. Let's talk about pipes, one of the most powerful ideas in POSIX and Unix philosophy. A pipe connects the output of one program directly to the input of another. Remember how file descriptors work? A pipe is just two file descriptors, a write end and a read end. You write data into one end and it pops out the other. This is what powers the classic Unix command chaining. Something like list all files, pipe it to grep to filter, pipe it to sort, pipe it to head to get the top 10. Each program does one thing well. Pipes let you compose them into something powerful. POSIX also defines standard streams, 3 of them. Standard input, STDIN, is where a program reads input from, usually the keyboard. Standard output, STDOUT, is where it writes normal output, usually the screen. And standard error, STDERR, is where it writes error messages. This separation is brilliant. You can redirect STDLT to a file to save output, while errors still appear on screen. Or you can redirect STDERR to a log file. This clean 3-stream model is something every developer eventually falls in love with. Now let's talk about something that changed computing in the 1990s. POSIX threads, or Pthreads. A thread is like a lightweight process. It shares memory with other threads in the same program. Before Pthreads, multi-threaded programming was a wild west of incompatible approaches. POSIX defined the standard: how to create threads, how to synchronize them with mutexes and semaphores, how to destroy them cleanly. Today, nearly every multi-threaded C or C++ program on Linux and Mac OS still uses the Pthreads API. It's that fundamental. POSIX doesn't just cover the OS kernel interface, it also defines the shell and utilities. The POSIX shell, based on the original Bourne shell, specifies how shell scripts should behave. Variables, loops, conditionals, functions, all defined. And it standardizes dozens of command line tools: ls, cat, grep, awk, sed, find, sort, echo. This is why a POSIX shell script written 30 years ago can still run today. That's the power of a well-defined standard. It creates stability across decades. Let's talk about file permissions, the POSIX security model. Every file and directory has an owner, a group, and permissions for 3 categories: the owner, the group members, and everyone else. And for each category, you can grant 3 permissions: read, write, and execute. This is the classic RWX system. You've seen it, those mysterious strings like -RWX, -R-X, -R-X when you run ls-l. POSIX defines exactly what these mean and how they're enforced. It's a simple but surprisingly powerful access control model. Environment variables are another POSIX staple. Every process inherits a set of key value pairs from its parent. These are environment variables. Path tells the shell where to find executables. Home tells programs where your home directory is. User is your username. Programs can read these variables to configure their behavior without needing a config file. When you type a command in your terminal, the shell looks through every directory in path to find the right executable. This elegant mechanism is completely defined by POSIX. So which operating systems are actually POSIX compliant? Mac OS is fully certified POSIX compliant. In fact, it's one of the few that passed the official test suite. Linux, and this surprises many people, is not officially certified, mainly because of the certification cost, but it follows the POSIX standard very closely in practice. The BSDs, FreeBSD, OpenBSD, NetBSD, are also highly POSIX compatible. Android, which runs on Linux, inherits most of the POSIX behavior. Essentially, if it's Unix-like, it speaks POSIX. And then there's Windows, the elephant in the room. Windows was built on a completely different philosophy and was historically not POSIX compatible. Microsoft did include a small POSIX subsystem in older Windows versions, but it was minimal. The game changer? The Windows Subsystem for Linux, WSL. Launched in 2016, WSL lets you run a real Linux environment inside Windows. Suddenly, developers on Windows could run POSIX compliant tools natively. WSL 2 even ships a full Linux kernel. It's Microsoft's biggest acknowledgement that POSIX compatibility matters. Here's why POSIX still matters enormously today. Cloud computing is built on Linux servers, and Linux follows POSIX. When you write code that uses standard file I/O, processes, signals, and pipes, it will run on every major cloud provider without modification. DevOps tools like Docker, Kubernetes, and shell scripts rely on POSIX behavior. The entire ecosystem of open source software, Apache, Nginx, PostgreSQL, Redis, is written assuming POSIX. Learn POSIX concepts and you understand the foundation of the modern internet. There's also a beautiful philosophical lesson in POSIX, the Unix philosophy. Do one thing and do it well. Write programs that work together. Use text streams as the universal interface. POSIX bakes this philosophy into a standard. grep doesn't know about sort. Sort doesn't know about head. But pipe them together and they solve real problems. This composability, small tools that cooperate, is one of the most durable ideas in all of software engineering. So let's wrap this up. POSIX was born from chaos, a fragmented Unix landscape where software couldn't move between systems. It gave us a universal contract, a standard set of system calls, file operations, process management, threads, shell commands, and permissions that any compliant OS must honor. From macOS to Linux to BSD to WSL on Windows, POSIX is the invisible backbone. Next time you open a terminal, run a shell script, or chain commands with a pipe, you're speaking POSIX. And now you know exactly what that means. See you in the next one.